Welcome to Sara Gonzales Unfiltered. Happy Tuesday? Is it Tuesday? Yes, it's Tuesday. Yes, it's Tuesday. It's been quite a week already, as you can tell, and it's just going to get crazier with, of course, the first presidential debate on Thursday. People keep waiting, like, is this really going to happen? Is this really going to happen? Really? Joe Biden is not going to just pull out at the last minute? I don't know. We will see. But if he does not, we will have coverage here on BlazeTV. So I just want to remind you guys, those of you who have not yet gone to wherever you get your audio podcasts, go there. What are you waiting for? Subscribe, rate, and review the show. It'll help us in the algorithm. And also, I'm saying this right now so that my producer can hear me. Please pull some of these reviews that we have, and we will read them in an upcoming episode this week. So look, we're all about flattery here. If you write a nice review, if you write a funny review, actually, even if you write a hateful review, I'll probably still read it. So just make sure that you go subscribe, rate it 5 stars. You can say whatever the hell you want in the body. You can say whatever you want. Just make sure that you rate it 5 stars, and you may see your review read on air. I want to welcome to the show our panel. We've got the dynamic duo today, Jaco Booyens, BlazeTV contributor and founder of JBM, Jaco Booyens Ministries, along with Eric July, BlazeTV contributor and, of course, founder and owner of Rippaverse Comics. This is like a good day for you guys to be here. With all of the things that are going on that I want to talk about, this is a very Jaco and Eric suited show. So I'm glad that you're here. So I want to first talk about Julian Assange, who has now apparently signed a plea deal with the United States government, of course, under Joe Biden. And those of you who are not familiar, maybe you've been living under a rock, you don't know who Julian Assange is. He is, of course, the Australian founder of WikiLeaks, who sought asylum in the Ecuadorian embassy in London in 2012 to avoid extradition to Sweden and the United States, and then stayed there until 2019. After his asylum was revoked, he was arrested and detained in the UK. And so he agreed to plead guilty now with the United States government. This plea deal included agreeing to plead guilty for conspiring to obtain and disclose national defense information, resulting in a 5-year sentence accounting for time served, pending approval by a judge. He was spotted boarding a plane, I believe. So Julian Assange, we could go through the long history of what he uncovered, and I think that it's all very important not to forget how much damning information he had on the United States government. But there are, I think, 2 different tiers of, I hate to say Republicans, maybe conservatives. I just hate using the term Republican. It just grosses me out this day and age. Some that are like, well, you should never release classified information because that's classified and you can never do that. Keeping classified information secret is the top priority if you work within, the government or with the government in any sort of capacity. And then there are others who say, well, actually, if they're doing really illegal and shady things, we should know about it. There should be someone who's willing to blow the whistle. Why else do we talk about whistleblower protections? If that extends to private corporations, to private businesses, why should that not extend to the government? You think the government is too big to criticize? And so I want to play, just as a flashback, I want to play a couple of Julian, we'll play some Julian Assange hits, if you will. And then I want to get your thoughts, gentlemen, on the status of all of this. So let's play first Julian Assange, 2016, talking about, United States media organizations, MSNBC, New York Times. Well, you know what? They wouldn't have published all of these DNC emails that I actually made publicly available to everyone that just uncovered a whole lot of not just, I would say, crimes, but also questions that some of which still remain unanswered when it comes to, I don't know, pizza, I'll say. Okay, here is Julian Assange on with Megyn Kelly in 2016. Watch.
I got to ask you about the U.S. election. As you point out, you're not an American citizen. You're an Australian. You know, you're clearly not rooting for Hillary. But are you rooting for Trump?
No. I mean, if we have good information on Trump, we publish that. If we have good information on Hillary, the Democrats, we publish that. You know, I would like to believe that no media organization in the United States would not have published the DNC emails. But I don't think that's true, actually. I think MSNBC wouldn't have published them. I think the New York Times wouldn't have published most of them. And that's sad. There's incredible politicization in this election of the media. And it is a bit concerning, the allegations that by the Clinton campaign that everyone is a Russian agent are really disturbing.
Now, I want to play one more for you back from 2011. Julian Assange talking about the purpose of these endless wars in the Middle East, which will not surprise you, gentlemen, sitting here at this table. I think we're all on the same page about what that really is about. Here's that.
Because the goal is not to completely subjugate Afghanistan. The goal is to use Afghanistan to wash money out of the tax bases of the United States, out of the tax bases of European countries, through Afghanistan and back into the hands of a transnational security elite. That is the goal, i.e. the goal is to have an endless war, not a successful war.
Show me the lie. One more here that he uncovered, message from Hillary Clinton's email addressed to a number of military officers talking about different ways to stop Julian Assange. And she said, can't we just drone this guy? Why? What? Can't we not just drone him? I mean, we're the United States government. That's what we do to people who stand in our way, apparently. Oh, wait, now I'm seeing why he was such a criminal for releasing all of their information. Now I see why it was so important that we stop this guy, because he's going to uncover all of y'all being criminals. So here it is. Now he's accepted a plea deal. Gentlemen, your thoughts?
Look, I want people just to reflect for a minute how long it's been. We're talking 2012. It's 2024. It's 12 years of this saga of a guy going through hell on Earth. My concern is he struck a deal with the Biden administration.
Right.
That is not good. And he's been in there for so long, didn't get a deal under the Trump administration, was in there during that. There was talks about what would Trump do with Julian Assange should he take the office again. That's not far away. It's 6 months away. So the timing of it is what was interesting to me.
I thought so too.
You've been in 12 years, 6 more months, and maybe make a deal with a better administration.
Yeah.
The Trump administration. Or is it that make the deal now and we'll change it? I don't know. I just don't like the timing of it. Of course, I like the man to be free, but I don't like the timing of all of this. You hinted to pizza and to all other things. He had dirt on levels now, how it is acquired and whether you should or shouldn't. Look, I'll say this. The highest law I subscribe to is the law of God. It's the word of God. And when a law man makes on this planet violates the word of God, I go with the word of God. And Ezekiel 33 tells you that if there's an injustice in the land and you do not warn of the injustice, then the blood committed is on your hands. So we can write laws in this country that makes it legal to abort babies or do whatever you want to do. I don't subscribe to those laws. I don't think the founding fathers did either, to be honest. I think it's all the cronies of this day and age. Praise God, they're not writing a constitution because that would be a hellhole, right?
There wouldn't be one.
I subscribe to the word of God. So when man fails, we go to God. So there's a lot of grappling with it. Those who consider themselves purist in the Republican Party that have idealized a party that is at times as demonic as the other side. So
yeah, I mean, to say that the government is untouchable, that's terrifying.
Is that not overreach? Is that not literally what our founding fathers was against? Is that not literally why we have the Second Amendment, for instance, and the First Amendment? And so it's good to be with you, brother Eric.
who I imagine would have some thoughts on this.
Well, I don't know if you guys remember. I can't remember if it was on this show or one of the others, but I talked about this when Trump was on his way out. The fact that Assange wasn't one of the guys that got pardoned pissed me off. Because you just look at some of the names of some of the guys that he did, and you're like,
Yeah.
What? Assange is one of, I don't care where he's at politically, that's irrelevant to me, but one of the last standing journalists, right, that we had, right? And to your point, Jaco, he went through hell, sitting in a small cell for a very, very long time. I can't fault him for making a deal, even if it is with the devil, because he's been unable to really be with his family and be free, all because he uncovered information that I believe everybody should know in either way. Yep. And I get that some people hold the government to this high regard, but, my argument there is that, I think transparency is very, very important to that. When you got, she attempted to be a president, saying that they want to drone someone because, they're just uncovering information that they found, that's jacked up. That's jacked up beyond belief, right? I don't think he's the one that's incorrect there. Maybe it's something that maybe Hillary should be the one that's in prison, right. After all.
Well, I don't mean to cut you off, but just for a brief moment, just to give perspective to this, if she's saying that about him, how much more have they done to others that we don't have?
Yeah.
So while she's smashing hard drives with her own hammers and
right. That's evidence. So it's like, so that's what we're seeing. Yeah. What are we not seeing that's already happened?
That's a good point. I do think, however corrupt you think that the government is, especially the United States government, it's far more corrupt than that. It is kind of, again, bizarre that you have, it'd be one thing if they're, I get it, people that are in government, especially they work for the military, they're always going to fall back on this is a national security sort of risk, and they're letting our enemies in on our secrets. But when they're letting information out there that, again, does harm the American people, or at least gives them some sort of perspective, especially on the geopolitical sort of landscape, especially with war efforts, I think is very, 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 very important. He's not the only one. We knew what happened, obviously, with Snowden as well, and everything that came from that. And then, what's her face, who's now trans, oddly enough, I can't remember her name off the top of my head. But, we know what the NSA is doing. They're uncovering these crazy, crazy things that they're not just harming people abroad, they're harming their own people, right? They're collecting information on their own people. They're swindling their own people, the folks that they're supposed to represent. Assange isn't the criminal here. The government is.
Right, exactly.
Like, I can't put that in any more simpler terms.
Exactly.
And I would say, Eric, he was like, I spoke to Laura Logan, who's a true journalist, right? And she's a friend. And she's like, Jaco, that man's a true journalist.
Yeah.
Julian is a true journalist, right? And it's harming the American people. But kind of part and parcel, Trump, to a degree, played a similar role of exposing truth. If you think of Assange talking about corruption, money, washing money, uses the term washing money. We know, even the Bushes, war is about washing money. It's about money, printing money like crazy. Trump had no war. Trump says, listen, let me investigate the Ukraine because I think that we're washing money in the Ukraine. We meaning the Obamas and the Clintons and the Bushes. And really, that was the linchpin that set this whole bomb off and saying, wait a minute, he's lifting the lid on the Komodo here, and let's go after him, kind of like they did with Assange. So it's almost like anybody that has information that the American people are being stepped on, right, is an enemy of the state.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you're exactly right. Okay, let's do this, actually. I want to get into the story on Infowars and what's going on there with Alex Jones. But I want to make sure we have enough time to really get into that. I don't want to be rushed. So let's go ahead and take a quick break right now. We're going to thank our sponsor, Jace Medical. So the Jace case, which is what they offer, is very important. We talk so much about being prepared for an emergency, and we always talk about food in that instance, but nobody really talks about what would happen if you were in an emergency and you needed emergency medication and you didn't have it. That could be devastating and potentially deadly. And, if the pandemic taught us anything, it's that medication shortages actually happen. They're a real thing. In fact, I think it was 4 to 6 months ago, one of my kids came down with just a terrible, like, cough, cold. I don't know. I think it was another China virus. But my point is, they gave me a prescription for him and they were like, well, I'm going to write you a prescription, but good luck finding it because it's out everywhere that we can search. Like, so you're welcome to call all these pharmacies, but there's a shortage of them. So point is, shortages happen all the time. And if it's a life-saving medication that your family needs, you're not going to have it. So go to Jace Medical, go get their Jace case. They've got they got 5 life-saving antibiotics for emergency use that come within that case already. And you've got all sorts of customization. You can get EpiPens if you need one. You can get ivermectin. You can make sure to customize it to fit your family's needs. Be prepared for the unexpected, especially when it comes to life or death situations. You can go to jacemedical.com and enter code Sarah at checkout for a discount on your order. That is a promo code. You can also use jace.com. Promo code Sarah over at jasemedical.com. All right, the United States Bankruptcy Court trustee that was assigned to Alex Jones, of course, case with all of this Sandy Hook, the judgment against him, $1.5 billion, which everyone knows Alex Jones could not pay. No one can pay that. I mean, I guess maybe Elon Musk, but the person that was put in charge of Alex Jones' case once he filed for bankruptcy is now going to liquidate Infowars' parent company. This is Free Speech Systems, in order to partially pay all of these Sandy Hook families. Now, I want to play Alex Jones here on this bankruptcy, but I just want to, just like for perspective here, it was a $1.5 billion what's the word I'm looking for? Thank you. To the families. But his total assets only amount to no more than $10 million. So this is barely putting a dent in any of this judgment, which was obviously exorbitant, over the top, a total abuse of this, civil process. So they would get less than, each family would get less than $4 million actually between them after all the legal bills are paid. But hey, take the man's livelihood anyway. Take all of these employees that work there, take their livelihoods anyway, okay? Because, of course, this is the point, is if you're Alex Jones or you are somewhat affiliated with Alex Jones in a positive light, we want to ruin your lives. That is what the point of all of this is. I want to play Alex Jones responding to all of this. Watch.
The plaintiffs, the Democratic Party folks, openly have wanted us shut it down the whole time. They've never wanted us to stay on there. Under federal law, they're supposed to get money for a supposed grievance that's happened. Even though the judges found me guilty, there were show trials. Okay, they had their big judgment that's going to be overturned on appeal. And so now they're desperate to shut this place down because they don't want money. They knew there wasn't all this money they claimed. And so now they're being forced in the state courts to come in now and tell the state courts they want money. That's what's happening. So there's a lot of stuff that happens within that. So just sit back and watch the next few days, the next week or so. I'll be able to tell you what's really going on here. But Infowars is hard to kill, and I'm hard to shut down.
Agree with him or not, it's just people have been watching what's happening to Donald Trump with the weaponization of the justice system, or the injustice system, as I call it now. And people tend to forget that this has been happening for a very long time. This happened to, our friend, Texas Attorney General Ken Paxton. This happened to Alex Jones. The weaponization of this, process has been taking place for a very long time. People ask me or tell me a lot, they're like, gosh, Sarah, you just seem so angry these days. And I'm like, are you not paying attention? Are you not paying? Because it's gotten very frustrating talking about this stuff, talking about what's happening to Alex Jones, which we did whenever all of this was happening, and said this is wrong. He has a First Amendment right, like it or not. You can think all the things that you would like. You can have whatever opinion you would like about what he says, but he certainly has a right in this country to say it. Oh, but wait, he doesn't. Because whenever it's an incorrect narrative that the regime has not signed off on, you get your livelihood ruined. You get your company, with an impossible judgment waged against you that you know that you can never pay. You have to liquidate your company now. You have to serve potential prison time or house arrest if you're Donald Trump. I mean, they are going to punish you for going against the narrative one way or the other, and they have proven time and time again they will use this system to do it. And it's just like, I don't know why you guys are not angry about this, because this has been happening for a much, much longer time than just with Donald Trump.
Yeah, look, I don't care where you're at on Alex Jones. I don't think that's particularly important.
It's not.
I think anybody that's, I don't know, any moral, ethical person can look at this and say something is just not right about this. Even if we take them for their word, and that's how you know how bad things are. Okay, you don't like what he said about Sandy Hook, expressing that it's a hoax. What does $1.5 billion have to do with that?
Right.
And I'm not saying that the families wouldn't like feel some kind of way that maybe they had a kid or something that was unfortunately had their lives taken out of that situation, and they may feel hurt that you have someone that's saying something like that. Where does the money come in on that? That's what I don't actually understand. And look, I've thought about this for a long time. I'm like, okay, this is weird. And has this ever been done? I haven't seen any examples of it. So really what has happened, I think this is obvious, is that they use this as an opportunity.
Right.
We know that he can't possibly, there may be a handful of people that can, I mean, you're talking about liquefied assets of $1.5 billion. Most billionaires don't have that.
Right, exactly.
At all, right? So they knew he couldn't pay. It's about ruining him. Mm-hmm. It's about ruining, let's say, that platform. And this is just by proxy. Like, this is just a means to an end. Has nothing to do with trying to absolve some sort of a dispute or conflict between Alex Jones and the families that unfortunately suffered because they lost family members. It sucks. It stinks. And like I said, you don't need to be an Alex Jones fan to say this is an irrational response that makes no sense, because I have no idea where this money is going to come from. They know it's not going to come from anywhere. And more importantly, what exactly does it resolve? Even if they could find it, what exactly does this resolve that y'all getting what are you getting billions of dollars for, or $1 billion for?
Hurt feelings?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. I don't get it.
Well, it's
which, by the way, I wouldn't wish on any. Like, I can imagine the pain that it feels. But
two things can be true. Two things can be true, Sarah. We can acknowledge that it may be jacked up, and yeah, if that happened, if I had lost a loved one, and someone was saying that it was somehow what happened was illegitimate, I would feel some kind of way.
I would hate your guts.
Right.
I would hate your guts.
And they have an absolute right to hate Alex Jones's guts. But what does $1.5 billion have to do with any of that? Is the question that I'm asking.
The only thing it has to do with that is punish Alex Jones.
Well, even that's not accurate. If they say that, it's called legal action, and it's lawyers that are coming into these families that are advising them, and the lawyers are sent by a political motive, and it's politically driven. Alex Jones is most likely holding this in an LLC, so there's no pass-through. They're not going to get to Alex Jones anyway. They're going to liquidate the assets of the corporation, which may amount to $10 million. And you're not silencing the voice. Fox thought that we would silence Tucker Carlson by firing Tucker Carlson. And actually what they didn't know is, no, you just set him free to speak freer. Alex Jones is not going away. Even if he was 1.5 billion liquid, he's not paying that himself. They're going after the corporation. They're going to liquidate all the assets, and someone will pick him up. And someone else will give him a camera. Or you know what? He doesn't need a studio or a camera. He gets this thing.
Yeah.
His voice is his voice.
He was just hosting a Twitter space.
Of course, yeah. And so Alex is, and again, it's to your point, it's not about Alex Jones at this point. Mm-hmm. It's not even about him at all. It's not even about Donald Trump anymore. It's about making an example.
Exactly.
It's for the rest of us to say, hey, we're going to silence your biggest voices, but the wheel has turned. This is not the Fox of old where the gatekeepers are still there and it's pay for play. And if you're not on the radio because the gatekeeper didn't put you there. No, now it's wide open.
I mean, the problem that he faced, and I think it's not so much now anymore because Elon Musk purchased Twitter, but
changed the game.
Yeah, because previously they just banned him into oblivion.
He was the first one. If
Right.
people remember.
Exactly.
I mean, it's short memory, but
right.
he was the first one that they went after, and they legitimately deplatformed.
Right.
He was number one.
Everywhere.
Public enemy number one.
And so, I mean, I'm glad that that is the case, but it just goes to show you how quickly you can lose that again if all of these big tech platforms fall into the wrong hands, because they're certainly going to try. They're certainly going to try to ban you if you speak out against the government narrative and you are, you gain enough traction. I mean, where was he available before Elon Musk purchased Twitter? And by the way, if I recall correctly, I think Elon Musk originally said he was not going to bring Alex
and it was
Jones
because
back
of
on.
that situation.
Yes.
It was because of this.
He said that, and we were all like, hold on a second. Who's the guy that talks so much about free speech, and now all of a sudden you don't want him to come back on? So eventually he came to the right conclusion, but it just goes to show you how quickly that can all be taken from you when you have these public-private partnerships and you have big tech working in collusion with big government to try to silence voices.
And
By the way, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. Only strengthens him more. To your point, Jaco, it's like people are going to go, wait a second, what is he saying that I need to pay attention to if you guys are so scared of me hearing what he has to say?
Alex Jones. Okay, yes, sure. Jaco, well, the money provided his income, and you can make money.
Right.
You can build companies in this country, okay? You can go talk to any billionaire. They'll tell you they've probably lost it 2 or 3 times before. You can make it. His voice cannot be silenced, and they want to silence. And your voice, the American voice, is what they want to silence. Whether you're Susie Q going to the school board meeting, they approach you the same as they approach Alex Jones. They want to silence your voice. We just had a guy, Pastor John, 6'4", 245-pound black man, amazing pastor, is called a white supremacist. Black man. Because he's standing at school boards and saying, you will not indoctrinate my kids. And they want to silence his voice. All of a sudden, he gets ushered out of a school board meeting by 4 white cops. Nobody talks about it. Because black man talks about morality and talks about the constitutional values. Then white guys can throw him out of a school board meeting. But you got George Floyd. And all of a sudden, let the place burn down. And so it is about silencing the individuals' voice in this country, and they've got certain examples that they're making out of people, like Assange, like Trump, like Alex, and many others. You're censored. You've been censored. I've been censored. It is about silencing the individual liberty of each individual American, because collectively as individuals, we'll smoke the government.
Right.
They're tiny compared to who we really are if our voices can actually ring true and free.
All right, let's go ahead and take a quick break. We will be back with more, but we want to thank our sponsor of this segment, Patriot Mobile. So Patriot Mobile is, I'm so proud to partner with them. They are the only Christian conservative wireless provider, and they are really putting their money where their mouths are. They are huge patriots. Glenn and Jenny Story, Jaco and I are very good friends with, and they are some of my favorite people in the entire world. But if you're with Big Mobile, they're taking a portion of your bill and they're using it to fund left-leaning causes, or I shouldn't even say left-leaning, abortion, taking your guns away, making sure that children have access to pornographic literature in their school libraries. Like, they are funding really gross stuff. Patriot Mobile's doing the opposite. They're down at the border with Jaco Booyens, fighting sex trafficking.
Literally rescuing children out of trafficking, feeding our Texas servicemen and women. They'll take the shirt off their back. I've literally watched this organization as a for-profit company do things nonprofits won't do.
Yes, exactly right. And so, they just really are. They've been instrumental in flipping school boards to conservative. They are really in the fight with us. And here's the deal. If you go there to their website, they're probably going to save you money as well. So there's no reason not to do this. You can keep your number. You can get a new one. You can keep your phone. You can get a new one. Go get it however you would like. But just make sure that you go check out Patriot Mobile. You can go to patriotmobile.com/Sarah. When you figure out which plan you want, get free activation when you use the offer code Sarah. Make the switch today. There is no reason not to do business with these people. It is patriotmobile.com/Sarah. One of the reasons that I mentioned at the beginning of the show that I was it was very fitting that you guys are here today, is this next story that I want to get into, because the three of us were just sitting right across this big giant room over at the old set. And we shared a lot of time together in an unprecedented era where we dealt with masks and 6-foot distancing and vaccine mandates and all of these issues that I take a lot of pride in this, got 100% right at the time. It didn't take us a year or two to come around to it. We didn't buy the government bullshit. I'm sorry, Jaco. The narrative that they were selling. Day one, we said, this stinks. It's wrong. Don't do it.
Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry. I'm probably going to make your blood boil here. Okay. I want to introduce you to 24-year-old Karolina Stancik, a veteran of the U.S. Armed Forces. And she sat down with investigative reporter Catherine Herridge talking about how she suffered a vaccine injury after taking 2 doses of the Moderna vaccine, which, remember, was a requirement in the military. Okay. She did it to keep her job, presumably. And you know what? I just want you to just listen to her talking about this situation. Watch.
I am 24 years old. I have had 3 heart attacks, a mini stroke, and I am now getting a pacemaker.
What's to blame?
The COVID vaccine, and that's when everything flipped upside down for me.
So is this Army memo an acknowledgement that your heart condition is the result of the COVID vaccine?
It 100% is.
Were you left behind by the Army and the National Guard?
I was left behind and trampled.
So the Army admits in an internal memo that they referenced that all of these injuries were caused by the vaccine. And yet, they discharged her, by the way, because you're of no use to us now. You're disabled now. You can't go away. So they discharge her because of her injuries, and now the Army is declining to pay for her medical treatment, including all of the complications with her heart.
That is how sick and how rotten this administration is, that we will force servicemen and women to buy into a narrative, and if they don't and then get hurt, you just toss them aside and feed them to the wolves. You remember when we sat on that set, and I'm proud of both of you because you never wavered, and we got it right from the get-go. My own brother, 3% body fat, top athlete, former professional athlete, all of a sudden gets myocarditis. His doctors lie to him. They tell him it's called athlete's heart. He's like, what is athlete's heart? That's a bunch of nonsense. Fights for his life in ICU for 13 days, turns at the brink of death. This has happened hundreds of thousands, if not millions of times. And there's LeBron's son, 18-year-old boy, falling down on the court. And LeBron himself, as a father, won't recant what he had said before. Because they serve themselves, they serve demons, and they serve this government that Joe Biden has put in front of us, the world government. And so it is sick, Sarah. We said then, we will not know for decades.
No.
Death and destruction. And I'll close my statement with this. Anthony Fauci should be in front of an international tribunal for crimes against humanity. And then he should go down the list, all of them, and just start checking it off. They all need. You want to throw Alex Jones in jail for free speech?
Right.
How about you throw the guys in jail that coerce people to go die?
Yeah, I'd say crimes against humanity is a little bit more of an issue than, someone saying something that hurts your feelings or that you don't like their opinion. And Eric, it's so frustrating to see this because, we're saying it at the time. I remember very vividly having a conversation about, all of these employers, private employers, who wanted to mandate that their employees get that vaccine. And I made the point, okay, sure, maybe if the stipulation is if your employee is harmed by this vaccine, you pay for the medical costs. Right. And that mandate would go away entirely. Now, am I saying I'm in favor of that? No, but I'm saying If that's the route you want to go, then you should be liable for all of the medical damage that this is going to do to people. And if then you want to go, well, hold on a second, this is an experimental injection, I'm not willing to be liable for that. Okay, then don't force this on your employees. And yet the government, as we mentioned in the first segment, is apparently too big to criticize, too big to fight. They want us to believe all of these things. And so they're like, well, we're going to mandate it anyway. And by the way, if you get hurt from this injection, oh, well, you can go find something else to do. You can go find some other way to make money so that you can pay, the $70,000 in unpaid medical bills that this woman has. Yeah. They don't care. They don't care.
It's jacked up. I mean, when you see what they did to their own agents, agents of the state, that's very much including the members of the military. I have, I call it a luxury because I've gotten to know this man. His name is Drew, who is a big fan of the Riververse. He's came to a lot of our meetups. Former Army, if I'm not mistaken, and he's got diagnosed after the jab. He's vaccine injured and got diagnosed with GBS, right? He's in a freaking wheelchair now. It sucks. And I don't like hearing stories like that. I don't like seeing that. And it's like you had all of them were in it together, like quite literally. And it's funny how that was a moniker or that was a slogan back then when they very much were in this together. From the top down, government were and it was very sneaky. And I remember us talking about this on the show where it wasn't even just like private institutions that were voluntarily wanting to force people. No, it had a lot to do with certain grants and certain loans and things that were tied to all of this stuff. And you start really, really diving into it. It's basically coercive, extortive even. I go as far as to say that. And it's the true crime is that nobody's being punished for any of this stuff. Yep. And that's what really sucks is that we aren't that far removed from that and how crazy those times were and nobody for getting it wrong. And they were aggressive. I think that's really, really important in how they demonized people that dare went against the narrative. And that included people that were also a part of the sort of medical community, other doctors that were sort of ringing the alarm on this stuff. And they were told that they were quacks, hack doctors, because even though they had the same level of expertise as the experts, because they were experts themselves, but they just were on the opposite side of it.
If you're a government expert, you're credible.
Yeah. Right.
If you're not a government expert, you're not.
Even though you can have the same medical school.
Yeah, same
medical school, Harvard Medical, Harvard Law, what doesn't matter what, same medical school. Nope.
Yep.
Right.
You became the criminal. And none of those guys went under. Fauci being one of, and it's crazy. Like you go listen to these hearings and they get grilled on stuff. And then you find out some of the things that they were big advocates of, like the 6 feet or social distancing thing. And where now he comes out and he's basically like, I pulled that out of my ass. He said it.
I have no idea.
There's no data. There was nothing.
Data.
We just kind of pulled that out of our.
Right.
Yet that was a big thing, right? The whole entire country followed behind this nonsense, and you were pulling things out of the crack of your behind.
The world, Eric, they told churches, okay, you can gather, but you can't sing.
Right.
You can't worship because you're going to kill grandma if you worship.
You can protest, though.
Okay, you can wear your mask and sit in a restaurant, and as soon as you sit down, the virus gets stupid.
Yeah.
Because it doesn't dip below 6 feet. Then you can take your mask off. I mean, it was asinine. And then you'll see Fauci without his mask. And, of course, politicians going for a hairdo without their mask. Or the Obamas throwing the super spreader party. Remember that freaking thing? Mm-hmm. Super spreader party. Because that's okay. Because they're just different.
They're the elite.
They're the elite.
Yeah. And, I do just want to add to one thing, Eric, that you said before we have to go to break here. You said, they haven't received any consequences for getting it wrong. I just want to reiterate, and I know you know this, but it was so much more than getting it wrong. Yeah. Because they knew at the time.
Well, that's worse.
Right? That's it wasn't just oops, we got it wrong. It was they were intentionally misleading the public. We've seen this in emails, right? We've seen this in Fauci's emails. They were intentionally misleading the public. They were intentionally keeping things off of the record so that they couldn't be FOIA'd. They were having phone calls saying, hey guys, this looks really bad. How are we going to fix this? And then trying to mislead the public to give them a narrative that they themselves didn't even believe just to cover for themselves. And that is why it is so important that we can never let this go. Ever.
Sarah, they were intentionally blocking medication that could make people healthy. They were intentionally setting what's called a COVID protocol inside the hospital, which is remdesivir, that shuts down the kidneys, killing people. This was a eugenics program.
They knew exactly what they were doing. This was, of course, we can't get this cash cow vaccine if we have a way of treating people. If we have early treatment, we can't get this cash cow. What do? Just take away the early treatment, withhold it. People will die, but we'll line the pockets of our friends at Big Pharma. That's what we'll do. And that's what they did. And I'm so we cannot, this unforgivable.
No, it's not forgivable, Mom.
It's unfreaking forgivable. So to close this out, if you want to donate to this woman's Give, Send, Go, she has one. It's givesendgo.com/Karolina. That is spelled with a K. I believe she's received over $49,000. And great. I love that Americans have such big hearts for things like this as well. We should. So that's givesendgo.com/Karolina. And of course, our prayers are with her as well. We'll be right back. Well, speaking of public health crises and, perhaps taking that term public health crisis and what all it opens up, what doors it opens up when it comes to the government stepping in and what they can do when they deem something a public health crisis, U.S. Surgeon General Vivek Murthy formally declared gun violence a public health crisis, which we all saw coming. And we all talked about how the next thing is going to be gun violence as a public health crisis. Climate change is a public health crisis. All of these things that they want to get through is a public health crisis if you want it to be. And so now the U.S. Surgeon General, thinks that he has the authority on any of this. He's calling for a ban on assault weapons and civilian use of large capacity magazines. But by the way, he says gun violence is the leading cause of death for children and adolescents ages 1 to 9.
Verifiably false.
It's not true.
Verifiably false. As anybody that in itself should disqualify anything that he's going to say on the subject, because that is a lie. And in fact, the people keep peddling that stuff and it goes unchecked. Blows my freaking mind. But that's how they do it with this whole public health crisis. They did it before. We saw it. We watched it all in real time. Is that really what that means? Is that it's going to be some eroding of whatever liberties that you have?
Absolutely.
That's how it works. They're going to use this and they're going to say, well, we're going to screw you over. Are we going to solve the issue of violence? Of course, violence. They're probably struggling like violence. What does that have to do with anything here? It has nothing to do with anything. What they're going to do is punish free people, punish people that have used no aggression on anybody, have not committed any actual crimes. They're going to impede on your rights just for the sake of what? Trying to, again, I'm not even going to give them that much credit because they're not going to halt gun violence or anything to that nature.
No. Well, and one more point, Jaco, I want to get your thoughts. If they were actually serious about gun violence, they would do something to clean up the streets of Chicago.
I was about to say that.
They wouldn't be releasing violent criminals into the streets if they cared about gun violence. They would actually be keeping them behind bars. That's not what they're doing, is it?
The law in New York right now is that you could literally, as disgusting as this is, commit a sexual offense, let's just call it what is rape, to a disabled person, and you will walk the same day. You will get fingerprinted and you will walk. So don't come to me with, you want to fight violence. This is about taking power away from good American citizens to silence them into submission. Yep. So Big Daddy government can rob your life from you. This is not about, I was going to say, if they were serious, the next statement would have read, we're now focusing on Chicago and we're going for Chicago.
Right.
Not happening.
Well, we're clamping down on crime. We're actually going to imprison these people when they commit crimes. We're not going to release them back on the streets to commit more crimes. Instead, they are issuing 39-page advisories saying that, hey, we should put warning labels on weapons. Oh, wait, you mean that gun could kill someone? I had no idea. That's not why I had the gun in the first freaking place, to protect myself. But now that you've told... there's a warning label. So now I know I could potentially harm someone with this weapon. Like, that's not the freaking point of any of it. And they're going to say, we're still going to continue releasing violent criminals onto the streets, but we will put a warning label on the weapon so that you know exactly what it is that you're holding. Like, how dumb are these people?
Corruption is in the heart of a man. You just get it's not the weapon. The weapon can't fire itself. You just gave me a brilliant idea that I'm going to do. I'm going to do it. I'm going to get a 15-foot wide sign, and I'm going to put it up at the border when I go back down, and it's going to say, warning, open border can kill people. Okay? Because that's what's happening.
Yeah.
We'll import illegal criminals. They'll kill 12-year-old American girls, and we'll let them back out on the street. But no worry. We're really fighting crime over here. It's really what this is about.
Yeah, it seems to me if you thought that gun violence was a public health crisis, you would probably do something about the cartels coming in and out of our country.
Well, that will force them to have to address a cultural problem, which is a very tough discussion that people just really don't want to have if you're going to curb gun violence. It has nothing to do, because guns aren't new, especially in the South. Guns are not a new phenomena. I don't understand how all of my parents and their parents were able to go to schools, like as teenagers, with shotguns and all sorts of stuff in their trucks, right? In the actual trucks, and somehow it was non-existent. You never heard about mass school shootings or anything. There's some other cultural things that we need to be addressing if we're going to curb this. It's not going to be on trying to go after me because I got a few, 30 round.
You may or may not. You may or may not.
Yeah, maybe in the, in the river or something. Boating accident or whatever.
Tragic.
Yeah, exactly.
Very tragic. I too used to have lots of guns and ammo, and it was the worst. It was a roller coaster accident. Don't ask any questions about the details of that. It was just, I know you lost them fishing. I lost them in a coaster, and they all flew.
Yeah.
They just dispersed into the air, and I have no idea where they went. Just letting you know, FBI, don't show up at my door. Okay? All right, we got to take a break. We'll be right back. A video from journalist Jonathan Cho from Seattle. I want to play for you guys just the state of these leftist areas that are, making all, drugs are available. We're empowering you to do drugs. This is how it's going for Seattle. Watch.
What you reporting for?
I just see you in a bikini and inside a gas station. That's why I'm just wondering why.
This is the Blade. We selling ass over here, so you can put your camera down.
Okay.
I ain't got no shame in my jeans. So I'll break real phone.
I dare you to run in those heels. I'd love to see you.
Uh-oh.
Oh, shoot.
Took that as a challenge.
She said, watch me.
What the hell?
Wow, you fast.
That's childish, man. Oh, man. That's wild.
This is a much longer video. I encourage you guys, or don't go watch it. Just listen to my analysis, okay? There's a guy in the street. He's just laid out because he's clearly, on drugs and unresponsive to any sort of instructions to get out of the street. I mean, it's what leftist policies will do to you.
Yep, I was in Seattle a couple weeks ago, and that is factually accurate. You walk the streets of Seattle, and really a place, if you look at what God created, a stunning setting on the water, demolished.
Yeah. Vote Republican, folks. All right.